Good evening.
Let's call this meeting to order. Stand to the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Special meeting to look over the contract for Danielle Gross. Our attorney, Phil Shaler's here. Welcome, Phil.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. So do any of the council folks have any questions?
I just have one for you, Phil. We discussed a wage, a salary, but in our handbook, our village employee handbook, there's a section that states all full-time regular village employees must complete a probationary period. And for supervisory positions, that would be 6 months. The ad hoc committee had discussed a separate wage scale for that first 6 months. That wage scale differs than the 75,000. So how do we set forth that first 6 months salary?
It's a really good question. Let me preface my comments and response by saying it's a privilege and an honor to be asked or invited to represent my hometown. If you don't know me personally, you may know my parents. You know, you know that I grew up on the corner of Jefferson and Pearl Street, and I can't think of anything more fulfilling than to come back and act in service to the village of Blissfield. That said, and in response to your question, the way that the draft was presented to me created something of a dilemma in that it seems to create two separate contracts. I understand the rationale for having a interim salary for the probationary period. The difficulty that I have is that the way the wording of the document is structured seems, or at least implicitly, creates two separate contracts, one for a period of 6 months that provides for compensation twice a month for a period of 6 months at a rate of 70. Give me.
73.5. Yeah, 73.5 was the.
Yeah, 73.5, and the implication would be that for those 12 pay periods, the village administrator would be paid at a rate of, I think it was nearly 6,000 or maybe a little bit more than 6,000 per pay period. I'm sure that wasn't the intention. I understand why the employee manual would do that. but the language of the agreement that was presented to me, as I said, would create what seems to be two separate contracts, one for 73.5 and one after the end of the probationary period at 75,000 for a period of 12 months rather than 6. So that created, for me at least, from a contract standpoint, the implication that there were two separate contracts, and I can't in good faith advise that. I don't think that was really your intention.
You're correct in that assumption.
Yeah, my suggestion would be that you set the compensation rate for an annual period of 12 months, and that you establish the probationary period of 6 months, and that when I'm trying to be optimistic, when you decide to engage Danielle for the remainder of that period, that compensation rate continue for the remainder of the contract. My concern is not with the notion that there ought to be a compensation rate for the probationary period, only that the language that we have appears to create two separate contracts, and I can't, in good faith, advise that.
Okay, thank you.
Does that answer your question? I'm sorry, I may know some of you. I don't recognize you on Zoom. That's a difficulty.
That does clarify it for me. So it's still, so what I've taken away is that it is still an option. The wording in the contract has to explicitly state the first 13 pay periods over 6 months, 1,040 hours, versus the second half of the year, second 6 months, or the contract going forward after that first 6 months period. Okay.
And it's only by implication. It's not expressed, but I mean, if we were called upon to justify this or defend it, I would be hard pressed to say that the language that we've used, the language that was suggested, doesn't do that. And I think the recommendation for a change that we did, I admit it doesn't take into consideration the recommendation from the policy manual, but I think we need to somehow or other reconcile that.
Okay. Thank you.
So are you suggesting we could move forward with this document and then through maybe a vote or just through Lisa's office, move forward with that first 6 months? Is that what you're suggesting, Phil?
I think our suggestion was that we set a compensation rate, an annual compensation rate that would apply to both the probationary period and the continuation of the contract in the event that Danielle were selected as the hired and agreed to a contract.
Okay.
That's the way I would propose to do it.
All right. Thank you. Any other questions?
I have one on the second page. Looks to me like A and B are the same thing, or the second one under health and disability. Is there a difference in those two that I'm not seeing?
I just want to review them, so I'm
Right, that's fine.
What section?
Section 2.02 A and B. A and B.
What a great catch. It never occurred to me that that was a redundancy. That may be an unnecessary redundancy that, and one of A or B could be deleted.
You catch that?
I'd like to have time to, both my partner, David Lacoste, and I reviewed this, and neither one of us caught that. So it occurs to me that we must have considered there to be some sort of distinction between A and B, but sitting here now, I'm at a loss to offer a rationale for that. So you may be 100% correct. I would like to have the opportunity to consider that in greater detail and respond to that.
Okay. Okay. And then on compensation, the top section there, A, it says to pay employee and starting salary. I know that's just a grammatical thing, but
You're right.
I'm sorry, help me can you be more specific about what we're talking about?
under compensation, Article
Okay.
2, A says employer agrees to pay employee and starting salary. It's just a starting salary. Unless there's another word missing or something.
No, it's just.
It's just a typo. Lisa can take care of it, right?
Employer agrees to pay employee an annual base salary of $75,000. What? Help me be more. Can you help me?
On our copy, Phil, it reads, employer agrees to pay employee and starting salary of.
So
It does
Oh,
not say an annual base salary.
So that was the section that was rewritten,
Right.
so I'm sure during the rewrite it just caught.
so it's.
Yeah,
I figured it was, but.
the copy that was provided to me says to pay an employee an annual base salary of.
Right.
Okay.
It's a typo. We can just take care of it.
I don't know where the typo is, but I'm sure that Lisa can make that, can reconcile that for you.
Yes, Lisa's got it.
If there aren't any other questions or corrections, then you call for motion to approve the contract.
May I suggest a motion to approve the contract for further negotiation between the village and the employee? The reason I say that is because I feel certain that Danielle will have her own attorney. I would, and I would encourage her to do that. Have her own attorney review the contract and then begin negotiations with your committee.
Someone want to make that motion then?
Well, we really can't make a motion on this contract if you're gonna still review 2.02 A and B, correct?
That's true, and I would suggest to you that when the candidate has her own legal counsel review this, she may have things she wants to talk about, and that's fair. The proposed contract is, and I'm not finding fault. This was a product of a template that was, I think, ICMA. We use templates all the time. The important thing to remember about templates is that one size does not fit all. and, you know, the changes that we've suggested, I think supports that notion. Danielle is gonna want her own counsel to, but and she may be so adept that she doesn't need legal assistance, but in any event, she's gonna want to negotiate some of these things, and who could blame her for that, right? We're prepared to, you know, make whatever accommodations result from those negotiations, and that's fair too. So my expectation is that sometime between now and the 12th, no, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong month, sorry. Sometime between now and the 12th, when you'd like to finalize this, she's going to have some questions. She's going to have some concerns. She's going to have some suggestions, if I didn't already say that, about how she wants this to look. And those may be acceptable to you. They may not. That's what negotiation's all about. I think, you know, all you guys are familiar with negotiating agreements, and there's going to be give and take here. She may accept it just as it's written, and that would be wonderful. I think it's a fair agreement. I think it's a comprehensive agreement. I think it's an agreement that I would be comfortable as the candidate accepting, but I'm not Danielle. So, you know, you have a committee, you have a negotiator, and you'll have a dialogue with her about what that ultimately looks like. We'll make whatever accommodations are required in order for you to reach an agreement.
So can you repeat that motion for us one more time, Phil?
What I would suggest is that the motion, boy, I hate to make motions. I hate to suggest the language of motions. I would suggest that the motion be as follows: that the village council accept the draft of the agreement for purposes of negotiating a final agreement between the village and the candidate.
Which makes sense to me. It still gives us the opportunity to make the corrections, right? Still gives us the opportunity to formalize the language for the first 6 months. That's got to be reconciled with our employee handbook.
This is an executive position, and I would never suggest that you make a specific exception for the executive, but in this case, I think that the language of the employee manual creates a dilemma for us, and I would suggest that you approach this in a different fashion.
Okay. So can we have a quick discussion about that then? Because what we're really looking at is $1,500 on an annual basis, 73.5 versus 75. Right?
Correct.
And then over a 6-month period, that's really only a $750 difference. It's true. So we're really splitting hairs over
Yeah, and,
$750. Is that correct? Yeah. So I think in the best interest, like, as far as getting this contract approved by our attorney, the cost benefit of it for $750. We make a motion to approve this draft at the $75,000 level. I think we'll have to then revisit the employee handbook. Which nobody's on a 6-month probation at the moment, are they?
Yes.
And
Tom, our officer Anton is on
6
6-month
months. Yep.
probation currently.
Lisa and I talked about the employee manual and the need to revise it, and we can move forward and with that at a later date. But I really think that the language of this agreement implicitly, at least, creates 2 separate contracts, and that concerns me.
I'll go ahead and make a motion then that we approve the draft copy of the contract with Daniel Gross, pending attorney review of section 2.02 A and B.
Support.
Moved and supported on that motion. You call the roll on the motion as presented, Lisa?
Barb,
Yes,
James,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes,
Bob,
Yes. The motion carried.
Just to be clear, I hate to do this to you. I think the motion said 2.02, it's really 2.01 compensation.
no,
If I'm
No,
mistaken, I apologize, but
no, I was talking, compensation is fine. 2.02 A and B were what you said you were going to review, the redundancies.
yeah, there may be redundancy there. Thank you. I apologize.
Okay, thanks.
So we're all set then? All right, then, take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn this meeting.
I'll second.
That's all you guys wanted from me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
guide
you
us
so
through
much. All good things go out to Danielle for her hard work, or I mean to Lisa for her hard work in making this happen in a way that you guys could act on, and I sure appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. We appreciate Lisa very much.
Is there anything else that I can do for you tonight?
No?
Nope, I think that's it for this evening.
Yep.
For tonight,
Thank you
that's
for
it.
your time.
Yep. You can call the roll now.
Jerry,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Bob.
Yes, meeting adjourned.
Thank you, Phil.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Thanks to all of you. Good night.